So I wonder if you can just tell me a little bit about your experience of childhood trauma, just so we have context.
As you know, I had an incest situation from the age of 7 until the age of 11 with a brother that is about 4 or 5 years older than me. But he happened not to live with us when I was born. He was being raised by my grandparents and only got brought into the family when he was close to 10 years of age. And the incest started maybe a year after he started, and it started as a very playful thing, and it progressed because it lasted a long time. It lasted until I was 11, so almost 12 really. And and I kept it a secret from my parents, partly because I don't know, I didn't want to tell on him and create more problems since we have recovered him. Also because I felt that my mom wouldn't be able to handle it because I always saw her as a sad person. So I lived with that secret throughout my life until I was the age of 35 maybe, when I first told my sister, who subsequently told my parents. I used to think that it didn't have an impact on my life, but as I got older, the issues that I had, or the coping mechanisms that I had used to survive that incest started becoming apparent or not working anymore, or started to actually hinder my life.
In this session, I'm working with a regular client of mine, Lucretia. Lucretia arrived to me a couple of months ago, and she'd done the round of many therapists for actually close to 30 years. And the main two presentations that Lucretia has is a number of addictions, and the two worst actually being a spending addiction and also a love addiction, where she enters relationships and goes quite crazy within the context of relationship. And she's tried many different approaches, both in individual therapy and in group contexts, to try and recover, but has not had any success. As we explored Lucretia's story in her first session, we uncovered that actually she was a survivor of incest. So her brother molested her repeatedly when she was young. And through that therapy of 30 years, not one therapist had linked her obsessive compulsive addictive behavior with these events from her childhood. And actually by making that link and starting to work with some of the trapped or suppressed traumatic content inside her, she's managed to make some big changes. In this session, we're going to explore a little more deeply with her, and I'm going to break down how I attune to her, how I help her safely connect to her experience, and then on the table, how that translates to finding release and integration.
Sometimes when I'm with Nick, I go into this trigger state and I just lose it. I lose myself, and I think I become a wounded child or something. So I think I woke up with emptiness on Saturday, like there wasn't enough drama or enough something. But anyway, I didn't feel right, and I tried meditating. I tried so many things.
Can you describe, when you say the emptiness, how that felt, what you identify as emptiness?
Yeah, it's like, it's a hollow feeling, like nothing can make me happy. Like, and if I search my mind for what's causing it, there's no cause. There's really nothing.
It's just in there.
It's in there, right? So I don't know if it's this habitual state of always being, always wanting to be in some sort of drama, some sort of solving some issue, and not being comfortable with being with everything okay. So I started feeling that, and I was like, okay, this doesn't feel good,
Can you tell me more about this doesn't feel good? How does it feel?
You know how when you wake up and you know that something is off, and it feels like you're not in your body.
Okay.
Yeah.
Where are you when you're not in your body?
You're looking at yourself.
Okay.
Trying to find a way back in, and there isn't a way back in. Not even meditation, not even the kindest words can do it. Because I tried meditating, I tried everything.
A couple of things I want to share from this very short snippet of Lucrezia's talk therapy session is how I help her to expand her context and safely enter a felt sense of charge. So Lucrezia mentions the word emptiness, and then she moves on, and I choose to bring her back and mirror back to her, okay, emptiness, can you tell me more about that? So often there can be two reasons why a client's not going to expand on their experience. One is because they do not have the vocabulary to do so, or two, when we study hypnotherapy, we call this a rush. It's not really safe for them to sit there in the charge. And what my job is to bring her back to that place where I can feel there's charge and room to explore and see if my connection with her can make it safe for her to do so. So that's why I bring her back and ask her to explore. And she's able to start to explore the emptiness. And you can see in the video as her body moves, she's starting to feel it and activate a little. The second thing that I'd like to share from this little snippet is how to identify dissociation. So Lucrezia mentions that she just wakes up and isn't quite right and she can't get back into her body. The moment someone suggests that they're not in their body, or they can't feel their body, or that they're watching themselves, this indicates an experience of dissociation. What's more is Lucrezia explains how she tries everything. She tries meditation and mindfulness and breathing, and she can't get back. So that's suggesting that really there is no safety for her to reassociate. So when she expresses that and we explore that, it's something that I'm going to notice, because it's going to then be part of my job to help her safely somatize and find the space to feel what she was avoiding, which in this case was what was underneath her emptiness. And we're going to look into that more now.
In the moment this happens, what I would tend to do is I clam up, I contain tears, I want to scream, and I don't, because obviously it would be weird. So what I do is then I start doing, so where are you in this relationship? We just saw each other 1 week ago.
You're verbalizing that to him? Okay.
So clearly he's like taken aback and starts saying, well, I don't know yet, we're taking things slow. Every word he said was like a knife in my body. Yeah.
There's something there you said about, hey, you're starting a life without you.
Yeah.
So I think it's something like you can feel the separation.
Yeah.
Pretty deeply.
Pretty deeply. Yeah. And instead of all the work that I've been doing to become detached, to become understanding, to hear him with his pain, and it just all went by the wayside.
Okay.
Yeah. And I began into tears, and I guess bringing back that victimization into my body again. But my words were not kind. My words were...
Can you tell me what they were?
I think I tried to manipulate him by cornering him and making him feel bad, and
I want to come back to when you say your words were not kind, you're manipulating him. It sounds like a different part of you, a different fragment.
Yeah.
Which part was that?
It's angry. It's angry because he can't see my pain.
Okay. You can't see my pain.
He can't.
It's painful.
It's very painful.
Yeah.
Very, very painful.
If you kind of look back at that thread of, hey, you can't see my pain, and that hurts me even more, where does that come from, do you think?
years of keeping that to myself. And I expect him to see it. And
if we think back, knowing a lot of the work that we've done together links all the way back to your very early childhood and what happened with your brother and your family. That dynamic of, you can't see my pain and that hurts me. Where does it come from? Which relationship dynamic?
Yeah, she just wasn't equipped. She was too young and mature. Wasn't motherly.
And when you connect to that now, what is the emotion that's arising in you?
A lack of being nurtured, a lack of being protected. I feel that it's all on me. It's really hard. Really hard. The negative side of me tells me I'm damaged. Sorry, I fucked up Saturday night.
So you're really judging yourself pretty hard.
Yeah. So I've been crying since Saturday night.
In this excerpt, Lucretia explains a difficult interaction she's had with her romantic partner. Her and her romantic partner actually are engaged in what's known as a trauma bond. So in this relationship, she doesn't bring her present rational adult self to the relationship, but she actually brings a number of wounded child parts to the relationship, hoping that her partner will heal them. And in this instance, there is a mother transference occurring. And of course, we cannot say to a client, hey, this is what's going on, even if we see it. We need to help the client arrive to this on their own. So as Lucretia describes her experience, I notice, or I suggest to her, that perhaps there's a fragment at play, and again I allow her to increase the context so that she can connect to the experience of A, experiencing deep separation and abandonment, and B, experiencing a lot of anger for not receiving the love and the care that she needs. So as she's able to connect to the existence of those two fragments and the, I guess, emotions and the thoughts that are at play, it allows her to then see what she's experiencing now with an expanded awareness. Then what I do is ask her if she can connect that relational dynamic back to something much earlier. And because we've teased out the context and the words and language around it, she can immediately connect back to, hey, the way I'm feeling in relationship to this person, to my romantic partner, is exactly how I felt in relationship to my mother. And once that connection is made, there's often a very palpable sense of, oh, I understand why I'm like this. And often in this kind of trauma bond, there can be this feeling of, why am I acting so crazy? And that moment where the thread is connected to the root can in itself be very freeing and allow a release of shame immediately. So that's something that we explore there. Something I also like to do once the client has connected to that past experience is to then bring them right back to the present so that they can be with the current charge. And this is really important in terms of intent not to re-traumatize. So we do not want to leave somebody associating with their past. We want to bring them back to the current. And now that we've made that association and come back to present, Lucretia can sit safely in the current charge with it ready to process a little deeper. It's interesting because it sounds like there had actually been some completions and clearings and settling happening, and something in that in a way overwhelmed you. So you dissociated and you left. And we've talked about before the trauma paradox, right? That, all the the danger and the difficulty is kind of identified as normal, and then when things are really calm, it's scary and overwhelming.
When everything is calm, it's hard. It's hard to re-engage with that part of me.
Which part of you?
The loving part of me, the self-loving part of me. The part that I know is there.
Why do you think when there's no difficulties it's hard to engage with her? What is it about that?
Because then maybe I know that all the feelings will come up. And the reality of what I have to do.
What's the reality of what you have to do?
I have to take care of myself.
And you had to do that all the way back then, didn't you?
Yeah.
But you couldn't. So there's maybe some helplessness arising.
Yeah. A lot.
But it's a bit like inside you that young girl is scrambling, like, help me, help me, help me, Mum.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can feel how difficult this is to you.
It's very difficult.
What is the most difficult thing about it?
I guess there's two aspects to it. The aspect of me that judges myself is harsh and I've been doing so much work and trying to detach and so much work and trying to be present and I could just go like that. So it's a disappointment.
It's like a failure. Tell me more about that.
For God's sake, I've been doing so well within myself. And then I failed, so I feel that what I thought I had progressed, I went back. And I know I didn't go back all the way because I know I have the tools inside and I know I can appeal to them, but it's, yeah. I judge myself quite harshly.
In this little piece, I speak to Lucretia about the trauma paradox, and describing the trauma paradox can often give clients a better understanding of why they might be experiencing safe experiences as dangerous and not being able to contain within them, and why they keep orienting to dangerous experiences in their life. So when someone has had a life in which there's been loads of trauma and difficult, dangerous situations, they orient to that as normal and they start to feel safe within the context of danger. And on the flip side, then a very safe experience, which often arises within the context of a relational dynamic, is identified as terrifying. And so there can be this spilling out when met with safe, calm, normal, peaceful situations and relationships, which is Lucretia's experience. There is another piece to this puzzle though. When Lucretia does engage in a peaceful, calm, loving relationship, it's almost as if there's not enough noise. So all the danger and doom around her is providing this noise which distracts her from dealing what she identifies as this screaming child inside her. And within the context of a calm, loving relationship and the space that provides, it's almost like she's forced in to connect with this terrified little girl. And as she does that, her prefrontal cortex goes offline and this very young fragment or part of her comes to the front and engages in the relationship. And it can seem very confusing for her. So giving her this context helps her to understand her experience. And the moment she understands, why am I like this? There is an immediate release of the shame that is associated to that. In this piece, we also touch on that at the core of all of her experience of terror and spilling out is the fear of being alone, of separation. And in the context of her situation, which is a childhood abuse dynamic, to be alone added another layer of terror, because when she was alone and unprotected, she was then harmed. So there is something in the safe relationship that provides space that sends her all the way back to that terror of being alone and also in the face of physical harm.